Hello there, Eddie.
So let's talk to Lawrence.
Eddie.
Putting you through now.
Hi, Lawrence.
Hi, Eddie. How are you doing?
Okay, sorry about the delay there. Just having to strap my
No, that's absolutely fine. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Shapes of Stories podcast. How are you? How are you feeling? How's the toe, the leg, the foot? How's it all feeling? How's it all going?
toe is in a holding pattern on the left foot. The quad is in a holding pattern. They're all kind of in holding patterns. They're not laughing. And every time we do get one bit goes better. The outside of the right foot is just aching. I don't know quite what it is. Just exhaustion. You know, you start exhausted and you finish exhausted. Actually, you start the marathon feeling kind of all right because you haven't been running since I finished last night. But you think, oh, I don't feel too bad. But as soon as you get going, you go, oh God, this again. And so I found I have to walk to start off. I can't go straight into running. It just.
Well, did you have a good bit of a boost earlier today when you found out you've raised over £100,000? That must have been a nice little feeling.
Great. That's a wonderful, nice thing to jump over that. Over £100,000. Was you 115,000 euros and about 145,000 US dollars? So, yeah, somewhere in that area. So we're heading up towards 150 grand now, and still got 11 more marathons to go. And the way people do seem to donate towards the end, it sort of ramps up. Rather alarming, good alarming as opposed to bad alarming. You just suddenly goes, my God, where's this going for? People, it's like a round the world yacht race. No one's really bothered in the middle. No one really. Yeah, whatever. Towards the end, they go, my God, is this happening? Really happening? And then everyone gets into it. So, yeah, I struggle away. And the gig at the end of the night, that's the curious thing. Never done that before. Well, I tried it a bit at the end of my February marathons, but I fall asleep in the middle of lines. It is very odd. And I have to do a German show after this Saturday show when I do it.
Oh, wow.
I know. My third language, my virtual marathon for Berlin in Germany. And then I do my show, Alles auf Deutsch. Guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. Here is my show auf Deutsch. And there is a weird delight I get out of doing it in second and third languages because I sort of go out of body. I talk about this thing of lists. If you think about it, someone goes into comedy, you might expect, okay, they're stand-up. They get their stand-up career going. That's good. And even if you're not in comedy, you think, well, what comes next? Probably a sketch show or a panel game. And then you might get a sitcom, your own sitcom, and then comedy films. That's the list, you know, that's the going up the mountain.
Yeah.
There is no left turn built into it where you start performing in French, German, and Spanish. That is not there. I decided to put it there. And you don't, when you start doing it, they don't care. You know, they don't say, oh, you're big in UK. Okay, we haven't heard about this. You have to get them all over again. You start all over again. Very humbling. It's a second language, so you're like a child. But the reward back is this ninja training in comedy. Mm-hmm. If you can do a show in French, if you can improvise in French or German, then surely the English show is like easy peasy lemon squeezy compared to that.
Yeah.
So you've helped yourself in this very weird way. I like to liken it to running around, like the Olympic racetrack, any big racetrack, and in those longer races, there's people on the inside. Surely that's a shorter distance, and there's the people on the outside, and that's obviously a longer distance, and they start ahead, the people on the outside. But I like to imagine I'm starting behind or equal to the people on the inside, but I have to run an extra third as fast. I have to go faster, further than the people on the inside, just to get to the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
That's a good training to do. That
sounds it, yeah. Well, but you talk about your comedy there. Who were your sort of comedy influences growing up, who you sort of looked up to?
Can I just say one quick thing?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I know it's in the middle of your podcast, but I'm saying it out to the world in general. You can snip it out if you want. But I'm doing social media questions on my social media at 3:30. I forgot to mention this. And that is on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So 3:30 London time, I'll be taking your questions. Sorry, that's in the middle of that.
That's absolutely fine.
Influences in comedy. Monty Python are the big gods on Mount Olympus.
Mm-hmm.
They were always, they weren't necessarily the first I was watching. I do remember early Benny Hill was really quite out there. It could be quite out there. He did stuff on European. He could speak French. He was out there, but then it got stuck into, he was doing all the writing and the performing. And the Benny Hill, the women who would be dancing with it was all kind of a bit complex. So they all went kind of into a strange place there. So when I was younger, there was that, and there was the goodies and a number of comedic things, loved Morecambe and Wise. But once I discovered Python,
mm-hmm.
I sort of took off with that. And I discovered the Goons, which people in Britain will know is a radio comedy series from the 50s that hugely influenced Python. And I discovered them both at the same time. So I was listening to cassettes, audio of Python and audio of the Goons, which is Peter Sellers, Spike Milligan, Harry Seacombe, at the same time, which is quite a surreal injection. And the difference is, if people want to, my comedy, say, very influenced by Python, anyone who's in this kind of area I'm in, we might be considered more the alternative comedians, like alternative music, alternative bands. And what you've got to be our audience is you have to have already seen all the standard comedy that's going, all the, here comes the joke and here's it, in that kind of standard way. And then you see that enough, you think, okay, that's great, but what else can we do with it?
Mm-hmm.
All the alternative comedians and alternative musicians and the independent filmmakers, we're playing with the medium, we're playing with the whole thing. And it leaves some mainstream audiences just don't know what the hell we're doing. But I love it because it's so weird. Python is very silly, but also very intelligent behind the silliness. And so that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, with comedy now, do you have to ever work when you're sort of writing or thinking of coming up with material? Do you worry about offending anyone now? Because I think we're in a transition where you kind of see, for Little Britain, for example, that got kicked off Netflix because people complaining and stuff. Do you ever have those worries about offending anyone with your writing?
I don't know if you've tracked my comedy much, but I'm offending Hitler, Nazis, extreme right-wing people.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that because they are, if you add up, say, all the people in the Nazi high command, that's not a huge amount of people, but they were a power minority. Power minorities there, the monarchy as well. General monarchy, I say the monarchy in our country, you'll be judged by what you do in life. I think Charles has done good stuff. I think William and Harry have done good stuff. And I look at it, that hereditary privilege, obviously a very bad example to our children. So I'm against that. So I will talk about that. But I don't go in and say, someone who suffers from cancer, my mum died of cancer, why would I make fun of those people? Mm-hmm. Why would I make fun of black people, other minorities, LGBT people? I'm T of the LGBT. Mm-hmm. So it's having a positive attitude. They talk about political correctness. That is a censorship kind of idea. It's actually worded wrong. It should be called positive attitude. Have a positive attitude in your comedy. And if you are saying things which is inspiring hate against powerless minority groups or less powerful minority groups, that's just not good, and it's bordering into hate crimes.
Yeah. So is it a bit like punching up rather than punching down, I guess?
Yeah, it's certain people are minorities. It's the super rich. The super rich, have a go as much as you want. They got all this money. They are a minority, but they are a powerful minority. So I think it's the articulation of what the problem is there. And if you say, well, you need the right to be able to say anything, which is the freedom of speech idea, I understand that, but we also have hate crime. So if you're inciting hatred, if you're saying, here's an idea, and I encourage, it does encourage people to think, I'm giving you permission, here's me hating and making fun of a group who are in a less powerful position, and have had that done throughout centuries, if not millennia, and it encourages other people. I thought I wasn't supposed to be racist and sexist anymore, so let's go back in and do that again. Trump did that. Trump gave permission for people to be racist and sexist again, and They talk about disenfranchisement. And you think, well, what is the franchise? The franchise is society. And some people have disenfranchised themselves by insisting on being racist and sexist. I'm not really talking about performing here. I'm just talking about in life. They still want to be racist, still want to be sexist. They want to be white supremacists. That is not part of society. And you have moved into the area of hate crimes, inciting hatred, encouraging violence, or the threat of violence against people. And I'm against that. I don't feel that is the place.
Well, were you quite confident that Joe Biden would win the election, or was there a worry that you thought that Trump might have his followers, there'd be enough of them to get a second term, or were you quite confident?
No, quite confident is the right word, I'd say, because I'd have to be studying it minute by minute, be an expert on the numbers. I hoped, 3 million, interestingly, 3 million voted for Hillary more than voted for Trump, and then 7 million voted more for Joe Biden than Trump. So he lost on the popular vote twice. And I think there's more goodwill than ill will in the world. That's what I hope. And maybe those figures show it. Maybe that's it. Maybe sometimes it's only 55% to 45%, the difference between the goodwill and the ill will in the world. But I don't believe in a mystical God. If there is one, fantastic, but you should have been down for World War II and stopped the 60 million dying. Then if they're not coming to stop 60 million dying, they won't come for COVID. They won't come for the next one. They didn't come for SARS. It didn't come for Ebola. It didn't come for Spanish flu. Mystical gods don't seem to help. So it seems more polite to say that they don't exist than that they do exist, but they just hate human beings and are happy to let children die. And so that's how I look at it. But I'm happy to work with anyone of any faith if they want to work with people. That's my thing. Humanity, that's what I link up with. And a lot of people of faith do great work in the community, helping people. I mean, in Georgia, we've got a reverend who's obviously a wonderful guy, who's been preaching in the same church that Martin Luther King did, senior and junior. And now he is the first black senator from Georgia, absolutely. And if you know the history of their civil war, that is just wow. That is just wow. Reverend Warnock there. So hopefully, we seem to go 3 steps forward, 1 step back, sometimes 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I was talking about earlier, the good thing hopefully about humanity is that even with the Nazis, when they took things like 93 steps backwards, back to medieval ideas of torture and murder at the drop of a hat for no reason. Once Konrad Adenauer got in as the new chancellor in 1945, in a free Germany, all the human rights bounced right back to wherever they were for the rest of developed countries. So we do snap back. Joe Biden's going to snap things back. The Paris Accord, he's going to re-sign. Boom, we're back going against climate change.
Yeah.
And
his ceremony yesterday was it was just really nice, because it was just about as much as about him that it was Kamala Harris as well. And that was really refreshing, because Trump's inauguration, it was raining when he started to talk, it was all about Trump. But yesterday the sun was shining, and it was really nice to see, learn more about Kamala Harris as well. Do you see her perhaps succeeding Joe Biden, I suppose, as the president?
Well, this is it. I mean, Joe's going to run whatever he wants to run, and he is a more senior gentleman, but Kamala, by the way, we worked on this. You have to emphasize the first syllable of her name. It's Kamala.
Oh, Kamala. Okay.
It's Kamala. Kamala, like
Kamala. Got you.
Yeah. Kamala. Put a dash after the A. Kamala.
Got it.
Like Kamala. Her mother is South Asian. Her father is African American. What's not to love? This is a beautiful thing. Showing kids around the world, yes, your heritage. You have strong genes. It's the strength of the blend of your genetics, not the purebred. Anyone extreme right wingers talking about the purebred, it's wrong. That causes inbreeding, and there is no such thing. We are all either immigrants or historical immigrants. And her dad is African American, her mother is South Asian. She is vice president, the first woman vice president in America, and it's great having had Barack Obama being a African American president, and then she's a vice president who has an African-American father. I just think that's a wonderful thing, a great inspiration to young children growing up from anywhere in the world, you know, and they look at that and think, yeah, things can move forward again.
Yeah. With Donald Trump, do you think that we've perhaps seen the last of him? Like, you know, when he talks about the election being rigged and things like this, do you think he believes his own kind of bullshit? Or do you think he's just putting out lies? Or do you think he generally believes those things?
It's quite a fine thing. He has lied so much. It's like a child. I think I went through a lying phase as a child. And I caught myself short at one point and I stopped. You know, you say things and it makes you look good. And he's lied upon lied upon lied upon lie. Such a pile of lies, such a bath, such a lake of lies. You know, it's a ridiculous amount. In his cold, objective moments at the back of his brain, he must know that these are all lies because he sits there and makes them up. I mean, he even lies when he doesn't have to. Someone mentioned this thing that we're talking to Kim Jong-un in North Korea. I've got a letter from Kim Jong-un. He says wonderful things about me. And the journalist says, what does he say, Mr. President? And Trump came back with, I don't know, I haven't read it. Why lie? Why not read the bloody thing and then find out?
Yeah.
He just lied, because obviously in that lie is the essence of him. He says wonderful things about me. I am a wonderful person. This is what he's trying to say with every lie he does. I won, he says I won. It's the big lie. This is the interesting thing. If you add up all the standard lies, little lies, whatever lies, that's one thing. But Goebbels, Joseph Goebbels, head of propaganda for Hitler and the Nazis, he said the big lie. If you lie big enough, people will believe it. It's got to be so big that it seems unusual that you would state that if you haven't got proof of it. And Hitler did this lie after lie after lie. If it's the Jewish people, international Jewry, the Jews and the Bolsheviks, he blamed the Jews for being about money, and they were working with the Bolsheviks, so all about no one having money, and they were working together because of what? It was illogical, let alone nonsensical, and a lie. They just kept saying it until a lot of people in Germany and Australia just went along with it. So there are a number of people who, they want to get on with their lives. They don't want to have to sift through everything from politics. So if someone is saying quite categorically, this is true, it's the big lie. And that's what he did. And he has been caught in this. You saw him on the telephone call saying to the Republican official in Georgia, I'd like you to find me 11,000 votes and then I'll be president again. It actually wouldn't even make him president. I'd like you to do this. Can you please break the law? This is what is going on. I won big there. It's obvious. I know we got proof. We won't show you the proof. Let's send out Rudy Giuliani Rudy Giuliani was a hero, a world hero, and now a world laughingstock. And his hair bleeds. His hair bleeds dark blood. That was, I mean, it's just off the scales.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You know, Bush Jr. we thought was a tough old time, but this was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about your comedy heroes briefly, and I just wanted to actually ask you, because one of my comedy heroes was Robin Williams. I know that you know Robin. Well, you knew Robin, personally and professionally. And what was sort of influence was he to you, I guess, as a person and as a comedian? He was a great life force, and it was so tragic that he felt it going away. He had this disease that he didn't know he had. I mean, it was just, I don't know whether substance abuse that he did to himself, whether that rolled into the disease he had at the end. But I was told at stand-up workshop when I was learning in the winter of '87 and the beginning of '88 about Robin Williams. He's amazing, amazing. And I hadn't seen any of Robin. So I'd already had my comedy foundations laid with Python, with the Goons, with Richard Pryor stand-up and Billy Connolly stand-up. Yeah. Those were the people who went into it. And I discovered Robin just as I was starting out. And he was so fast and so this to that, to this, to that. And I thought, I can't do that. So I was impressed by it, but
I didn't think I'm going that way. And then I did a film with which he was in, but a serious film, and it was he was there. I gave him my video the first day I met him. It was quite a moment, actually. I walked up to him, and he was in his costume playing the professor in a Joseph Conrad story, and I said, Mr. Robin Williams, and he said, Mr. Eddie Izzard. And I thought, God, you know my name. How do you know my name? And then I said, well, it's great to meet you. And look at this. Can you watch this? It's such a stupid thing to say, really. Can you watch my video the first minute I meet him? He went and watched it immediately. And he was referring to it later in the day. And it was beautiful. So I saw him from time to time, very welcoming. He became producer for my show when I was on playing San Francisco and Los Angeles in 1998, doing my show Dressed to Kill, and that went on to get 2 Emmys, and so it was the ramp up in America, and he was very helpful there, and he'd come along, and Tom Waits would come along, and the mayor of San Francisco, Sean Penn, and crazy. I got a picture of me, Sean Penn, and Robert Williams in my house. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And if you Google Robin Williams, Gary Shandling, Billy Crystal, and my name, you get a photo with all 4 of us in it, which...
Look that up.
That would, do, because it's Robin Williams, Man of the Century, I think was his film that's opening, and I was there, just happened to be there, invited to the after party, and suddenly, and Gary Shandling, so it's kind of weird, because I didn't know of Gary's stuff before, but his stuff was wild enough there, and Billy Crystal's, I was watching, actually, I haven't told this to Billy, but I used to watch him, I used to break into a school building to watch him in Soap, and all the other guys. We had no television in the boarding school, but there was one that was in the center of the school, but they locked it up, but I'd leave the window open, so I could, just ajar, so I could crawl in the window, get in and watch Soap, which was, I was not supposed to do. I forgot about that, I've got to tell that to Billy. So, yeah, it's an honor to know. That's what you want to do. You want to know people in comedy world and in the drama world whose work you admire, working with Judi Dench, with George Clooney, with Jim Broadbent in my next film coming out 6 minutes to midnight on the 26th of March. It's just an honor to be there, and I would pay to be there. You actually get paid for doing it, but I would pay to be there. That's kind of how I judge my acting gigs.
Yeah.
Victoria and Abdul, I'm playing Edward VII. Judy's playing Queen Victoria. How much would I pay to do that? Just if that was the system, just a lot. It was just such a joyous thing.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So I mean, you came out as trans in the 80s, but I suppose have you seen a progression since then? Because I can only imagine it must have been pretty scary to decide to come out in the 80s during that period. It was 1985. And I was scared as all hell. Mm-hmm. But I also, I'd wanted to be in the forces beforehand. And if you're in the forces, you've got to go through very scary things. People are shooting at you. So no one was shooting at me. Threats of violence in the street, yes. People shouting abuse at you, yes. But I thought, this is my selection. This is my trial by fire. It's best to come out. Let's talk about it. Let's get the conversations going. Other activists have been out before and done amazing things, always sporadically, little by little. But I thought I knew since I was 5 years old. So my career was nowhere. Interestingly, if my career in comedy had taken off in the early 80s, as I hoped it would, I wouldn't have done it. Maybe I still wouldn't be out, but it wasn't anywhere. So I think fate was saying to me, no, we're holding you back. You've got to learn to get your work good, and we need you to come out. So I came out then, go through whatever battles you had, the psychological battles, much better for your mental health, which I never quite linked it to mental health, but I say it is. It's all about mental health. You're out, you're talking about it, someone shouts, we hate you, you're a horrible thing. I mean, someone stood right in front of me and said to me, pointing at me, literally about 10 centimeters away and saying, what the fuck is that?
They said that to me. And, you know, and other people had worse stuff, and they've had fights and stuff, and I've had fights in the street, but it's now a hate crime. And I reported some guy recently, 2 years ago, to police. They took it very seriously. They said this could be a hate crime. Passed it on to Crown Prosecution Service, who did a very professional, took it on very professionally, and the person was prosecuted. And have a restraining order against them, I do believe. So things do get better. 2014 was the tipping point in America. America's great at doing things and sending out the message. And they had a TV series called Transparent that was winning awards left, right, and center. And there was Caitlyn Jenner got the front of Vanity Fair. And so that was her transition, her story. That was a big one for America. We didn't know her so well, but you know, Vanity Fair gave it front and center. And then Laverne Cox, a black African American, I should say, actor in Orange Is the New Black, and a great trans activist. And Laverne Cox, she got Woman of the Year, Person of the Year. I think Time does Person of the Year now. And that was great. And they were all in 2014, I believe. So that was the tipping point.
Yeah. And I mean, how would you like for us as a humanity, I suppose, to emerge from COVID-19 once we obviously get past this virus? I mean, how do you think we can progress as humanity post-COVID?
Well, this is the interesting point. A number of people saying we're going to go even more right-wing. There's going to be difficult economic situations, and people are going to get more and more nationalistic. My country is better than you. We don't like you. But the rest of us, me and anyone else who wants to make humanity great again, realize we've got to make the whole world work. This century has got to be about making a fair chance in life. It should be the right of every person in the world. Just a fair chance in life. Not a free life, not to get covered with gold and have millions of houses. Just a fair chance in life. And that's got to be what everyone fights for. And if we don't learn from COVID that we should talk to each other, and next time something comes, we all do what's the best idea that we've worked out how to do it. If we don't do that, that's going to make it so hard for us. We need to link together. We need to, against terrorism, against drug trafficking, human trafficking, defense, a whole load of things. So the idea of, you know, some people say, come on, let's retreat into isolation. I disagree entirely. I think we're going to make even stronger connections than we did before, because the rest of it, half our country wants to separate out and half our country wants to make even stronger connections. So I'm part of that group. And it's just like, you know, some people were with Trump, but a lot of people weren't. And so I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight for our country, our continent, and our world. And I want to be in politics, so I want to get a seat in Parliament.
I was just about to say, we need you running for Prime Minister. That should be a piece of cake, the amount of running you're doing right now.
There are different types of running. I'm going to fight for Keir Starmer to be Prime Minister in the next election. And Boris Johnson is there, and he has used a lot of Trump techniques, lying when he thought it was suitable, lying when he thought he could get away with it. And he can't take those back. And that just sits there. So I don't trust him. And not a good example to kids growing up. So the rest of us, we've just got to try and be positive examples.
Yeah. Well, Eddie, it's been amazing talking to you today. I know you've got some social media questions you need to get to. Before I go, my brother and his girlfriend are a massive fan of you. They come to your shows, and I haven't seen them for a while because of lockdown. I don't suppose you could give a quick shout out to Daniel and Charlotte.
Daniel and Charlotte, hello, how are you? I hope you're staying safe. Best wishes. And try and find things you can do to occupy your mind, keep yourself healthy during these COVID times, and then hopefully we'll get through it and out the other end soon.
Thank you very much. You've made a popular big brother. Thank you, Eddie. You're an inspiration. Keep doing your thing, and let's hope that total out of the money keeps rising up. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Take care.
Take care.
Okay.